Savage Origins, The Ape, Part 2, Extinction. I have now led the tribe for 300 years. Other troops would defect from their tribes to join mine, for my rule was just and fair. Over time, we grew into a strong colony, numbering in the dozens of thousands. All is fine until the white drops began to fall and everything turned into a shiny rock. It felt cold. Food became scarce for me and my apes, and we are starving. We have been traveling for months when we marched through the cold, and we are in the middle of a white cloud. A small ape scampered towards my side. Ivan, I hunger. I know, little one. I brushed my hand across his wild head of hair. We will eat soon. Just need to find warmth first. Ever since I consumed the strange grass, my age has slowed down significantly. I have ruled over generations of apes, and I barely reached my teens. Let alone whenever I was injured from a rival member, the wound would instantly glow a variety of colors and then close up. No matter how much they cut, maim, or maul, I would come back and kill them in a brutal fashion. Seen through the white cloud was a colossal shadow that loomed overhead. The other apes scampered, but I know what it is. I scampered towards the shadow and screamed for my apes to follow. They did as they were commanded. The colossal shadow led my apes and I into a frozen forest. Without hesitation, I climbed the tallest tree, and the other apes mimicked my actions. Reaching the highest point, I could see the shadow now. It was the same rock that I climbed so long ago. With a mighty bound, I latched on and scaled up the floating rock. The cold air blew fiercely, but that did not stop me from reaching the very top. I pulled my body over the edge of the cliff, and I could instantly feel the difference in the air. It went from cold to warm in an instant. The white rain was not falling upon this land. In fact, it looked like the land down below before the white cloud and the cold came. It was lush and tropical. As soon as they reached the top, my apes were just as awestruck as me. We traversed into the land and quickly found plentiful game to feast on. Day turned into night, and I watched over my apes as they slept, with only a few toddlers up playing with each other. Among them was Stick, the little ape that approached me while we were walking through the white rain. He broke away from his playmates and climbed up to greet me. Ivan saved us! Ivan hero! He grasped at my arm, looked up and smiled. Me want to be like Ivan! In due time, little one. I picked him up and sat him on my shoulders. The sky was clear and endless, with the stars glimmering through it. Indeed, in time. A month passed by when the hunting party and I returned with fresh kill to feed to the entire colony, when a strange figure leapt from high in the trees and landed before my feet. It was a strange ape that I have never seen before. Her eyes were as blue as the sky, skin a slight tan, and her hair was a dirty yellow that was held tightly in the form of dreadlocks. The animal skin she wore made her look more like a wolf. Her sudden appearance startled my apes into a hooting frenzy, and they scattered high into the trees. Meeting her wild gaze, I began to screech and holler, threw the fresh kill to the side, and charged forward. Before I knew what happened, I was pinned down to the floor, and on top was a strange she-ape. Her feet held down my arms, and she was snarling with flecks of saliva running down into the floor. I do not recall your species being on this island, she said in my native ape tongue. We were cold and hungry down below. I had to do what I can for the good of my tribe. I don't care. You must leave the island. Leave Ivan alone. Stick came in growling at the strange ape. The strange ape simply shrieked at the young ape, who immediately backed off in fright. So, your name is Ivan, right? Well, Ivan, tell your tribe to go back where they came from. This land is only for endangered species, and only the selected animals can stay. If that were the case, then the island would have left us down below to die off. But no, it showed up when we were hungry and without shelter. And what is this endangered species you speak of? Endangered means that there is very few of a particular animal, and it is my job in order to repopulate them on this island. Then, count us two. Ever since White Rain came, we were the only apes of our kind that we have seen so far. She paused for a moment, then stared directly into his eyes. How long has it been since you came across another one of your kind from a different group? It has been about 100 years. Her stern gaze quickly turned into one with disbelief. How is this possible? You are so young. I ate this colorful grass, and ever since then I have been slowly aging and retaining my position as leader for 300 years. Colorful grass? She got up off him and muttered, "Could it be that Zero Sapien has planned my replacement already?" She quickly leapt high into the trees and vanished without a trace. I slowly got up and the rest of my apes began to encircle around me. "Ivan okay?" Stick said with a concerned look. "Yes, I am okay, Stick." "Ivan weak!" A loud voice bellowed. A towering, hulking ape came forward. "Ivan lost to she-ape! Ivan is not fit to lead!" He said with saliva foaming at the mouth. "If you think I am not fit to lead, then by all means, come and take my spot, Stonehead," I said with a cold look. His face went from a savage animal to a docile subordinate. "No, I'm stupid to challenge you." Good. I grabbed my fresh kill, and we continued to march towards the rest of the colony. Soon nightfall came, and I was resting among my nest when I heard a sudden snap. I looked up to see that there, before me, was a she-ape, sitting high on the branch. I immediately growled. "Relax, Ivan. I am not here to harm your people. In fact, I came to deliver some good news." I said nothing, only deepening my scowl. "You and your people can stay as my guests. The great Zero Sapien said that if the island allowed the creatures to enter, and is led by the one that is blessed by the primal grass, then they can stay. But heed this warning. Very soon there will be a great calamity in which the island will dissipate into the ocean to reform a new island. You and your clan may not survive when it occurs, So I suggest to not stay too long. With that ominous warning, she vanished into the night. 9 years have passed since we have claimed the floating rock as our home. We continued to migrate until we found a spot that had enough food and water to support a growing colony of thousands of apes. Stick himself was coming into his own. He was no longer a rowdy cub, but was an adolescent ape. On one hot, muggy afternoon, he casually approached, sat down beside me, and asked, "Stick, want to lead next hunting party? Stick is ready." That's the 5th time you asked in a month, and I told you time and time again it is too dangerous to even lead a party. Only the most experienced apes can do so, and even they can get killed. He grunted impatiently. "I learning from mistakes of others. I am strong. I quick thinking and protect others." I locked eyes with him, and we stared at each other for a moment. Then I smirked. "Fine. How about this? If you can lead me on a successful hunting trip, then I will make you head hunter for all our trips. Deal?" He enthusiastically hollered and hooted, "Deal!" We were swinging swiftly and quietly among the treetops, searching for our prey. But throughout the entire day, we did not see at least one animal to bring down, not even a rabbit. We ended our search at high afternoon, out in the empty field of grass. "Damn," Stick grunted in frustration. "Not so easy, eh, Stick?" "Day not over. Still time to find food," he said with a determined look. "Alright, if you say so. You know there's no shame in asking for help." "No help!" Then his eyes spied something treading across the plains. "Look." His long, slender finger pointed out. In the middle of the field stood the old she-ape, slowly hobbling through the long grass. She was walking on all fours like them, but was having a harder time with her shorter, more stocky arms. We continued to look at her for a while. "That same she-ape that hurt you?" "Yes." "What do you think she'd do, Yvonne?" "I don't know." Then she hunched her frail old body and then threw her arms towards the ground. As if on command, the ground began to shake, and there was a sudden burst of wind that knocked us on our backsides. A moment of silence passed. Still startled by the shockwave, we slowly got up. "You okay, Stick?" "Yeah, me think so." Just then, a low rumbling came from the direction where the old she-ape was. When we looked up, she had vanished without a trace. The earth continued to rumble, and it was growing more intense by the minute. "Stick, go." "But go now!" Then the ground started to split into cracks, and then suddenly, sections of earth rose up in colossal pillars. "We must head back to the others to make sure that they are safe." They navigated through the crumbling and ever-changing landscape, bobbing and weaving through the snapping trees, falling rocks, and the shifting ground. When they arrived at the nesting site, they saw the apes screeching and hooting in a panic. Some were cowering in the foliage of their nest, while others were scampering about in their awkward quadruped run. With a mighty roar, I commanded my apes to seek shelter in the trees, and they immediately ascended the thickest, sturdiest, strongest trees that they could find as the earth continued to shake. I, along with my apes, clung onto the branches tightly. Slowly, I began to notice that the white, blue sky is moving farther away. The island was sinking back into the planet down below. The sun was quickly becoming dim as gray fog began to roll in, and in mere moments it became so hazy that I could not even see my apes at all. Then there was a sound of rushing water, quickly coming towards us. Before I knew what happened, I was swept up in the mighty current. The cold, salty water pummeled my body as I stubbornly held on tightly, but the current was too strong and flung me into the body of water down below, where I met it with a stinging splash. I swam up from the cold, murky depths and inhaled a fresh breath of air. "Stick! Rocker! Anybody!" I called out to my kin. Through the soupy dark mist, my apes responded in terrible screams of devastation and terror. "Hold on! Just try to keep your head above the surface!" Using all my strength, I gripped onto a floating log and I swam towards the wailing. The log kept on bobbing up and down until I pushed my broad, wet chest on it, ensuring I stay afloat. For what felt like hours, I swam through the unforgiving sea, but over time the wailing began to slowly subside. "No, damn it!" I clasped the log even tighter. The log felt oddly soft and fleshy. The bark itself did not have the slippery, slimy sensation of wet moss, but instead the moss felt damp and clumped together. It was then I realized that it was not a log at all, but rather was a floating lifeless body of an anthropoid. To my horror, I flipped the body over and saw that it was Stick's body that was keeping me afloat. Sticks. No longer did the primitive but kind face have a boisterous, adventurous look. It was replaced with an expression that was hollow, and the eyes that were once full of vibrant life was gone. Tears welled up as I closed his lifeless eyes and allowed his body to submerge into the dark depths of the ocean. I shrieked so hard that my throat began to ache. With all my anger, I thrashed violently in the salty water. How could this happen? Why did it happen? Then, with a final slap across the cold ocean, my temper subsided. Tears continued to run down my face when suddenly there was a familiar screeching. I turned around to see that a large shadow was drawing near. I swam closer to the figure and quickly recognized what it was. 9 of my apes were perched on the branches of the floating tree. They grunted excitedly. "Ivan, okay," a large elder ape proclaimed. He hoisted me onto the floating tree where the 8 other apes hobbled over towards my side. "Good, see you later. Now we okay." Did you see other apes clinging onto the trees near you, Rocker? A middle-aged, muscular anthropoid stepped forward. At first, he responded in incoherent grunts. Then, a minute later, he slowly said, "Others gone in. Missed. Don't know. Water carried tree away from others." "So you are just as clueless as me." He exhaled and slowly nodded. "We alone. We will find others." "Yeah, I am sure we will." A loud, earth-shattering boom filled the air. My apes looked alarmingly towards the dark fog. With dismay in our faces, we patiently waited to see what is coming. It was Rocker who alerted us with a look of shock crossing his dumbfounded face. I saw it too. It was a great wave that was cutting through the fog. Once more, we desperately clung on to the branches as the wave rocked the bobbing tree. Through the murky depths was part of the seafloor that was rising. It emerged from the ocean and carried the log we were on. As we continued to ascend, the bright sunbeams began to shine through the fog until we were able to see the baby blue sky once again. We saw similar-sized bodies of rock flying towards a colossal island that itself came from the high sea. One by one, the smaller rocks connected to the landmass, and eventually, our very own rock slowly made its way towards it. A distinct screeching and hooting was carried through the sky. It sounded to be much bigger than a monkey, but smaller than a silverback gorilla. The closer we got towards the island, the louder the primal shrieks got. It was when we finally merged with the island with a thunderous clatter that we saw there was hundreds of my kind all gathered together in a tiny section of the floating landmass. However, most of the faces I did not recognize, nor did I know. There was, however, a familiar roar that sent chills down my spine. You! A great hairy fist dug into my pectoral muscle and sent me flying. I skidded across the grass and then coughed up blood. The impact just cracked 5 of my ribs, but within a minute, the ribs were healed back to normal. Standing tall before me was Stonehead. He had a deep scowl across his face, and saliva was foaming from his mouth in rage. You did this to us! Rocker had a look of concern. Stop, Stonehead. It was not even while I hunt. I see sheep at field. Sheep broke island and saw Ivan with stick, and they did nothing. Rocker's dumbfounded face slowly turned into shock. It's true, Ivan. Yes. See? Stonehead barreled through the field while the colony of apes looked on in terror. I did not even attempt to charge onto the oncoming brute. I resigned to my fate. The mighty ape grabbed me with his strong, savage hands, lifted me up over his head, and drove my body into a broken tree log. Blood sprayed out of my chest. The pain was unbearable, and I feel the liquid forming in my mouth. The liquid was a sickening flavor, and I immediately coughed it up. It was more blood. Quickly, I began to lose consciousness, but before I did, I saw Stonehead standing tall among the thousands of apes, snarling at them, and grunted, "We do not need weak leaders. We need strong ones. We are last of our kind, and if we have even lead, we all fall. I will lead. I will protect you." With a bellow, he solidified his reign and led his apes away from me, leaving me to die. Thank you so much for looking at my content, and be sure to hit the subscribe button if you want to see more, and the notification so you know when it's out. Yeah, so thank you so much once again, and peace. You!